Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. Let me pose a question to you. If someone broke into your home once and walked away with everything valuable you owned, would you leave the doors wide open when you moved into your next place? Of course you wouldn't. You'd install stronger locks. You'd add alarms. You'd do everything you could to protect what mattered most, because you knew firsthand what it felt like to lose it all. That mindset is exactly what guided me when I remarried. The only difference was that I wasn't guarding a house. I was safeguarding my finances, my sense of stability, and my future. My name is Anthony. My first wife played ruthless games during our divorce and walked away with nearly everything I had spent years building. When I married again, I refused to repeat that mistake. I kept certain parts of my life private. And when my second wife eventually revealed who she truly was, that decision became the thin line separating me from total financial devastation. I got married for the first time at 26. I was young, deeply in love, and convinced I had found a woman I would grow old with. Her name was Monica, and when we met, she seemed like the perfect match. She was attractive, charming, and made me feel like I mattered more than anyone else in her world. We dated for 2 years before I proposed, and during that entire time, I never noticed a single serious warning sign. Looking back now, I can see that I simply wasn't paying attention. I was so consumed by the rush of being in love that I brushed aside small signals that should have made me slow down. She had a temper that flared whenever things didn't go her way. She made remarks that hinted she valued herself above any partnership. When she talked about the future, it was always framed around what she would gain, never what we would build together. Still, I explained it all away because I wanted the relationship to succeed. We married in a modest ceremony, surrounded by family and close friends. That first year felt like everything I had hoped for. We bought a house together, pooling our savings for the down payment. I worked long hours to support us, and she worked too, though her income was far less than mine. When she became pregnant with our first child, I felt like my life had finally reached its purpose. I was going to be a father. I was going to give my child the stable home I had always dreamed of. Our daughter was born, and 2 years later, our son arrived. For a long time, I truly believed we were happy. I thought the sacrifices I was making for my career and family would eventually pay off. I believed Monica and I were a team working toward the same goals. The cracks began to show around our 5th year of marriage. Monica grew distant in every sense. She complained that the house wasn't large enough for our growing family. She criticized our vacations, saying they were boring and uninspiring. She complained about me, claiming I worked too much and didn't give her enough attention. I tried to fix things. I took time off work to spend with her. I planned trips I thought she would enjoy. I suggested counseling so we could address our problems together. Nothing worked. The harder I tried, the more she withdrew. Eventually, I started questioning myself. I wondered if I was the one failing in ways I couldn't see. That doubt ate at me for months, until the truth finally came out. Monica had been having an affair for over a year. I discovered it through a message she forgot to delete, a text from a man I didn't recognize, telling her how excited he was to see her again. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. She didn't apologize. Instead, she told me she had stopped loving me years earlier and had simply been waiting for the right moment to leave. That right moment turned out to be after she had secured her advantage. She had already spoken to a divorce attorney. She had already mapped out how she would take the house, the savings, and primary custody of our children. I was blindsided. While I had been building a life with her, she had been planning how to dismantle it and walk away with everything. The divorce was vicious. Monica fought in ways I never imagined. She portrayed me as an absent father despite the fact that I spent every spare moment with my kids. She blamed her affair on my supposed neglect, casting herself as the victim and me as the villain. Her attorney was relentless. Mine wasn't aggressive enough. When it was over, she had primary custody of our children. Because of that, she got the house. She took a large share of our savings. She received child support that consumed a significant portion of my monthly income. I was left with almost nothing. The life I had spent 10 years building vanished overnight. I found myself in my mid-30s, starting over with barely enough money to rent a small apartment. The worst loss wasn't financial. It was losing daily access to my children. I went from seeing them every day to seeing them every other weekend. I went from being an active father to feeling like a guest in their lives. Monica made every exchange difficult. She showed up late. She canceled pickups. She fed them lies about me, tried to turn them against me before they were old enough to think for themselves. I spent years fighting just to remain present in my children's lives. The divorce didn't just strip me of assets. It shattered my sense of safety, my trust in people, and my belief that doing the right thing would protect me. After the divorce was finalized, I made a choice. I wouldn't enter another serious relationship. I needed time to heal, rebuild, and rediscover who I was outside of marriage that had defined me for so long. For years, my focus was solely on work and my kids. I took every chance I could see them. I showed up for school events, games, and conferences. I called them every night, even when Monica tried to cut those calls short. I refused to be pushed out of their lives. Money was tight, child support was heavy, and I lived in a small apartment filled with secondhand furniture. I worked overtime whenever possible and saved every extra dollar. I didn't go out. I didn't waste money. I lived cautiously, knowing one mistake could bury me in debt. That lifestyle was difficult, but it taught me discipline. I learned that financial security isn't about earning more. It's about protecting what you have and using it wisely. During that time, my grandparents stepped in. They had watched my divorce from afar and were devastated by what I went through. One afternoon, my grandfather sat me down and said something I'll never forget. He told me they had spent their lives building something to pass down. He said, watching me lose everything through no fault of my own broke their hearts, and they wanted to give me a foundation to stand on. A few months later, they transferred ownership of a house to me. It wasn't luxurious, just a simple 3-bedroom home in a quiet neighborhood. Fully paid off. They told me it was mine and hoped it would give me the fresh start I deserved. That house changed everything. I moved out of my apartment and into a place that truly belonged to me. I no longer paid rent. I didn't worry about landlords or lease renewals. For the first time since my divorce, I felt grounded, stable, safe. My grandparents and parents also helped me financially, enough to furnish the house and build an emergency fund. Within a year, I went from barely surviving to being financially comfortable. I wasn't wealthy, but I wasn't struggling. I had savings. I had security. I told no one, not out of shame, but because my divorce taught me what happens when people know what you have. Monica had used every detail against me. I decided that if I ever remarried, I would be cautious. I would protect myself. I would trust slowly. I stayed single for nearly 5 years. I dated casually but never seriously. If someone asked too many questions about my finances, I pulled away. If they seemed more interested in what I could provide than who I was, I ended it. Then I met Denise. She was different. We met at a community event for single parents. She had 2 kids and had lost her husband in a car accident 3 years earlier. She understood loss, struggle, rebuilding. We connected immediately. She didn't ask about my money. She asked about my kids, my life, my dreams. I opened up but carefully. I didn't lie. I just didn't share everything. We dated for a year. Our kids met. They got along. Denise was kind, hardworking, and never asked me for money. When I proposed, she said yes through tears. We married quietly. Afterward, she and her children moved into my house. I prepared rooms for them. I wanted them to feel welcome. At first, everything seemed fine, but slowly, things shifted. Denise began noticing things: my lack of financial stress, my savings, the fact that the house was fully paid off. Her comments changed. Gratitude became expectation. She started asking direct questions. She wanted numbers, details, access. Then the entitlement grew. Expensive furniture, new cars, luxury vacations. Demands replaced requests. When I said no, disappointment turned into anger. Her children followed suit. expensive clothes, electronics. When I refused, she sided with them every time. I tried setting boundaries. I tried explaining values. Nothing worked. Every no became a battle. Then I noticed how my own children were treated. Polite but cold, tolerated, not welcomed. Her kids echoed that behavior. I tried to fix things. I initiated conversations. I stayed calm. I explained my concerns. Denise became defensive. She accused me of being selfish, secretive, ungenerous. When logic failed, she cried. Guilt worked, temporarily. I compromised. I spent more. The demands escalated. Bigger, louder, relentless. Then came the argument over a new car. She wanted me to co-sign a loan. I refused. She exploded. She told me marrying me was a mistake. That moment changed everything. I realized I was fighting alone. She didn't want a partner. She wanted a provider. I ended the marriage calmly. She threatened me. She tried guilt. She tried fear. None of it worked. This time, I had protected myself. The house wasn't marital property. The savings weren't shared. She walked away with only what she brought. It wasn't victory. It was a lesson. Protecting yourself isn't cruelty. It's wisdom. Time reveals character. Boundaries matter. Walking away can be strength. My name is Anthony, and this is what I learned by remarrying without revealing everything I owned. It saved me, and I hope my story helps save you too.